All right, we are continuing their session with the campaign scenario number 4. And I wanted to, before we get started into the battle cycle, I just wanted to visually correct something on video that I commented on the last video. But I wanted to show you what I did wrong, and also how I corrected that, so we could get a little bit more to how the game is supposed to be played. But unbeknownst to me, before I double checked the rules on search again, I have to say this: the search rules in this, it helps to read several times to double check on the way things are sequenced, and also the differences between contact phase and the battle cycle movement phase. So this is what I did wrong. Subs cannot search during the contact phase. So when I searched with this sub patrol in this area, that shouldn't have happened. So what I did was just pretend I didn't do that. And then I moved forward 1, and then, as luck would have it, this long-range air unit rolled a 1. So in the very next hex, that task force was discovered. So that would be where it would stop. And of course, in the surprise intelligence condition, the Japanese could not move. I did want to point out also, on the last video, when I didn't realize that subs couldn't search in the contact phase and they did an attack, I should have done an anti-submarine warfare, somebody pointed out. There should have been an ASW attack versus that subgroup, which I didn't do. But since it actually wasn't supposed to happen, I guess no harm, no foul. So we'll make sure we do that in the future. So this is the beginning of the battle cycle. Just to grab. So this is what we will be going through. The only thing that's different with the campaign scenario as opposed to battle scenarios, demolition can happen in this cycle now. So we'll do the lighting phase first. I can choose right now where the lighting phase is as the operational player, and I think I think we'll just let it be random to start. So we'll roll a die. I won't use my option, and I'd like to save that for later. And I rolled a 0, so it is night. That's actually okay for me. I'll take that. So now it's night lighting condition, and we'll roll to see. I'll roll the red and blue die to see who has advantage. 4, so Japanese has advantage, and they can move first. Okay, don't think, let's see. I guess we'll do the movement over here because we want to get this task force involved. This is the one with the carrier in it. Carriers, there's 2 carriers. So we'll move 1. And I think I'll pause for a second because I think this, once more, I gotta look at the search rules, because I think the subs can search each hex that they move into. So we'll double check that. Yeah, that's one search per hex moved in the zone. So this first hex they can search, and if they move another, they can search again. So we'll do that. Again, this is, I think it really matters that it's, because it's search for naval night. That's the one you put it on regardless if it's night or not. So 0 through 5. 2, so they get reports the number of capital ships and number non-capital, whether they're carriers. So they know they're carriers in here. And they can do an attack. We have to double check to see how far it is from their sub command. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So that's equivalent, you divide that by 5 and round up, so that's equivalent of 4. I have 6 points. 6 divided by 4 is 1 because you round that down, so I get 1 attack. I don't think we need to do that math every time. We should be able to do that quickly. 1 attack at 2 points. And they roll a 6, that's no effect. Okay, so they are going to move 1 more. And I believe they oops, I said I wasn't going to miss that, but let's do the anti-sub attack. And we have to check on what we have here for anti-submarine. I have not done that before, so well, let's pause again so you don't sit here waiting for me to check. Yeah, this is on the back side of the counter where you get most of the pertinent information for ships, besides their activation point cost. This is for all the battle stuff. So the bottom right that's highlighted in the black circle or black oval is the anti-sub strength, so that's 2. So I figured out I have 9 total. Destroyers are obviously the best thing to have for anti-subs. So roll on that. 9. It's going to be a hit of some sort. We'll see. 7. It's 1 hit. So what happens is, and actually, when I look at this, oops, sorry about that. Here's the the naval versus submarine. So if you have, let's see, if you have 9, which I actually have, that's something to keep in mind, I guess, for future. But if you have 9 factors, you're guaranteed a hit on the sub, and you're also not gonna get more than 1 hit ever. But it's still something, and what you do is simply take this 6 and reduce it to 5. So one thing to keep in mind as you progress in the scenario, or any scenario like this where you're using subs, that 5, once it gets down to 4, no, in this case 3 factors, it's going to be a reduction of down to 0, so they won't be able to attack anymore. The way I understand it, because of the distance from the command base. Okay, and one thing I want to point out too, as far as searches go, it may look like I'm not searching in some cases where I could, but I'm not going to go through the motions of declaring I'm not going to search. I think if you're playing face to face, you have to do that. You have to give your opponent a chance to say I am going to search, and that can happen before any movement takes place, and then after 1 hex takes place again, and then after 2 hexes. This is already detected to a level that I'm not going to worry about. And then this is level 1, so that they know their carrier's there. That's there's nothing within range anyway. Okay, we'll move with the other hex. They can do it still detected. They'll do another sub attack. Again, of 2, they get 1 attack. They get a 2 this time. They're attacking the carrier. Specifically, I should have declared that before, but that's, to me, that's an obvious thing. I'm actually going to go for this CVL, because it's it'll take less hits to cripple it, and put it out of action. So there's 1 hit. Oh, I got to check the chart though first. I rolled a 2 on 2. That should be 1 hit. Submarine versus naval. So yeah, 1 hit on that light carrier, the Rujo. And now that does cause an issue because it's normally it can. Well, no, I don't think that unless it's crippled, it doesn't affect the launch capability. I think the launch capability is still 3 here. Pretty sure that's the case, but it has 1 hit. Okay, that's the end of the naval movement, because we don't have any other units that are activated for Japanese. As far as, and I think that's going to be all of them. They're not going to do any air attacks. So that's the end of the Japanese movement. There's no air mission. There's no naval combat, no bombardment, no demolition, no ground combat, no airfield repair. This is one thing about this game, is that you can go quickly through many phases when there's no action. And now disadvantage movement. This is pretty straightforward. Now the subs get a chance to get involved. So we'll move 1 here, and then they are detected and they're within their sub range, so they're going to attack. Although this is where I'm kind of curious. They are detected already, and I'm wondering if they're detected for submarines as well, or that sub has to search, the sub patrol has to search. Well, they find it anyway, so I just rolled just in case. So they get to attack. They're gonna have the same 1 attack on 2 combat factors. 4, no effect. Any of these sub attacks, you're gonna have to, it's a 30% chance of a hit because you have to roll 0, 1, or 2. It'd be nice to roll 0. Again, I'm attacking the carrier. That was 1. You're gonna move 1 more, and then it is detected. So this, oh, forgot the submarine. Anti-sub warfare. Let's double check that. We'll do that before we moved into that hex. Flip these. Oh, cruisers are not effective. I've got 2 destroyers, that's 4. The amphibious unit's not going to be, I don't think the battleships are going to do me any good. Carriers have 1 each, so I get 6 points for anti-sub. 5 should be okay, I think. Yep. it looks like it's interesting. It's easy for I guess I never I never looked at that close enough, but that's an easy way to tell the way you're going to get a hit if there aren't any modifications to die rolls, as there are over here. If you're just rolling straight up, basically, I don't know why I was so dumb not to see this before, but I guess when you get involved in the details, you miss the forest. But basically, if you have 5 strength, you're going to need to roll a 5 or less to have any effect. Now, the only place that is not the case is when you're looking at T air units or B air units for Snail. You have a couple of blank spots here, no results. But if you don't consider that, everywhere else, including bombardment of ground unit, or air versus ground, everywhere else, if you have 7 strength, you have to roll a 7 or less to have an effect. So that's a good thing to keep in mind. Okay, so there's 1 reduced here. And they moved a second time, and they're going to do sub-attack against the carrier again. That's against the Enterprise. That's a 7, no effect. And then anti-sub, we have the same 6 factors. Roll a 5, so they lose another one. And now, is that the right spot? I took my counter off. Wait, what did I do here? Oh, yeah. No, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I guess that's part of that. That's right, because it was covering that edge of the board. I'm just trying to figure if 4, what do we decide? This is 16, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 16 hexes. So we're down to the last one. Any more hits on here, and they're going to become ineffective as far as sub-attacks. We can add more points in the next round when we get to sub-patrol phase. And change things around as well. Okay, that's the end of the disadvantage movement, disadvantage air mission. It's night turn, so we're not gonna deactivate anybody. Day marker adjustment. We're now on day 4 of a 21-day operation. And we jump back to lighting. In this case, I want to let it progress. Let's jump over here. Let's take a quick look at the lighting table. This is where I made a comment online too. I think all the BGG questions that have been coming up, and there was one thread about the day or the lighting table and how that worked, and I think somebody was actually rolling every time their lighting condition came up and they were rolling, but there is some strategy to this. So because I was a little ways away from my goal, I was fine with rolling the first time and be random. In fact, it was night, so to me that's, in the position I was at, it's just fine because I'm not going to do any air attacks. And then I know the next one is just going to progress to day, which I will let it do that. And what's great now, since I am the operation player, I still have that option open. So on the following lighting phase, I will get to go 2 forward if I choose. So if I have day now and I want to continue with daylight, I can automatically go 2. This counts as a space, so it's 1, 2, and that means I could go to day twice in a row if I need to. If I don't use that, then it would progress to here, then you roll, and then it goes to 1 of the 4 again. So obviously day PM is the most common, but there are those other options. It's interesting, day AM is not on here, so you will never randomly roll to get here. Okay, enough about daylight. So finish the daylight phase, or the lighting phase, and we're now on Vantage Determination. Roll again. Remember, if a tie goes to the Allied side. Still Japanese. Okay. Well, oops. We do have to flip these, sorry. They only stay detected through the first battle cycle. Okay. Japanese side. Well, this is a pretty simple deal. Any pre-searches we're not going to do. We'll continue on 1. We can try to get closer if we can. Sub-patrol search. They rolled a 9. Nope. They will go 2. Another sub-patrol search. 5. That is detected. And I know it's there. Sub-attack on the 2. A 0. Ooh, critical hit. This could be good. And this is on the CVL. Oh boy. So critical. The 0 is 1 hit, and it's a critical hit on naval. So we roll again. We got to get a 6 or more. Right now it has 2 hits out of a possible 4. And you roll a 1. So still around. Oop. Wait, oops. We just flip this. Okay, so Ryujo has 2 hits, 1 more hit, and then it's crippled. We have to worry about these sub-patrols over here. Okay, anti-sub. I believe we have 9. That's from last time. We haven't lost any. 0. Oh boy. Well, that could put them out of commission. That's actually good for the Japanese, because those been hurting them so far. A 0 on the 9 is going to be bad. Oh, sorry. I was looking at submarine versus naval. No, naval versus submarine is just 1, but it's still 1 more, and they will lose their effectiveness. Why did where did I put that? Here. Okay. So that was 2, I believe. And they are done. There's no air attacks. No naval combat, no air missions. We go to disadvantage movement. And we're gonna go right into here. We're not discovered yet. I think we'll use this long range air to search here before they move. So that's 3 hexes. It's day AM. And Dandy reprints its search chart. 0. Well, they know everything they need to know about this. What's there? And okay. So they are search detected and they'll move in. Trying to think here. Well, do they want to soften that up first? Let's take a look, possibly, but bombardment's going to be even more important. What do they got? Well, this is the one to Guadalcanal 11. So they've got only one air step, and then they've got those Marines and engineers. Well, I think we're going to move first. We'll move in and then do an air attack at the end. Because we're going to need to get closer anyway, because we have to do the amphibious assault. Okay, so their move, Japanese sub-patrols gotten a hold of them. Now they'll roll on the 2 column. They get a 3, no effect. Anti-sub with 6 is a 2, so they get 1. So they're down to 3. So they've lost their effectiveness. As far as I read the rules, they've lost their effectiveness for attack. They can still search, but they can't do anything with attacking. Okay, and then they're going to move 1 more. And then they'll do their air mission after that. So air mission, they have level 1 planes. There is going to be an air unit there, so we'll go in, try to eliminate that air unit, and it's going to be a base attack, but if that air unit goes up, they can throw up an escort, have one of the units be an escort. Let's roll for coordination. They have to get a 3 or less. 6, so it's uncoordinated. Bring these air units in so you can see them. And they can throw up, I think the LRA can be alerted. One thing to definitely highlight is, again, not just, well, when you have unactivated units, obviously ground combat units can defend. They just can't attack or advance if they want an attack against them. Planes can alert, so that's not an issue for this. It will alert that if we can. We have to discover or search for and discover that air attack first. And they have one level 0 fighter, 1 step. It's not very much. So I'm gonna put these out there, or that unit out there, just so you can see it. It's not even necessarily alerted yet, but we have to roll a 5 or less, I believe. Yeah, this is the one thing I caught myself doing incorrectly when I initially started playing, and doing the same hex search. The Japanese are slightly less likely to discover the planes that are coming in, so they have to get a 5 or less to alert. -3. Okay, so these 2 planes are up. I can designate this F as a cap because it is an F. I'm going to designate this CAD or KEG 26 as the escort. Can still attack the base after if it doesn't receive 2 hits. So the first thing you do is let's take our combat sheet out here. So it is alerted, and there's a little flak. There's 1 flak there that you can fire. Let's see. Air combat first. It's cap versus an uncoordinated mission. There's only 1 step there. So if you flip to here, so you can see what the anti-air is on the. Let's do this so you can see. Anti-air is bottom left. Now here's where that negative stuff comes into play. It has 5 hits on it, so it's basically only 1 step here. So you actually have to do 3 and subtract 5, which is a negative number. And I guess I didn't need to flip it since it's there. And so on this table, it becomes this 0 negative. So you have to roll a 0, and then you have to roll a 4 or less to get a hit. So nothing. All right, and then they can fire back. They have their full 6 steps. So 6 steps firing uncoordinated versus cap. It's most likely to get 1 hit if you get anything. Ooh, 1 is nice. That's 1 hit. So we've eliminated, that was one of the goals, eliminated this air unit. Okay. They have no more air to use as cap, just this long range. And then these 2 can go in against the base. They're not going to be unloading stuff. We'll leave that for the next turn, because they do want to have a chance at doing a troop quality check, so that the units that are there, or at least one of the unit has got what am I trying to say for broken. I think it's broken, yeah. Okay, so we have 6 and 6 versus base. It's just bombardment versus installation, and this bottom right is, I'm sorry, not 6 and 6, 4 and 4 is the ground combat. 9, not a good roll. 5 on the 4 is not. So an ineffective ground attack, but they did get the plane out of there. So this goes back. Planes go back to their carriers. And we jump right to the day marker adjustment. So that's 2 more days. You can see how if I have to get back to this base here, I think we said it was 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 hexes. So if we have to do that, we have to allow 10 days. So I would say once we get to, yeah, I mean day 11, it's a few more battle cycles. We need to be on that base and taking over. We'll see what happens. Okay, so we're doing the next battle cycle. Go to lighting phase. This is where I'm going to have it go to 2, skip to 2, so I'm using my option. You can see what I did over here. We were here, and I'm using my my option as the operational player, just go forward 2. So we're going to go to day PM, not chance it on a die roll. Okay. Still got to roll for advantage. We haven't had very good luck with that. Japanese are still away, quite a ways away for the effect. They're going to have to get within 4 to have any effect on this battle. Okay. 8 US for Japanese. So getting the advantage. And we will now be on advantage movement. And I think we're going to, I'm going to do one more air attack. And this time we're going to go against the ground, air versus ground. And let's form up same planes. Oh, I keep forgetting to flip these over. And it's, might as well, well, they don't search yet. They have to search before I'm doing air mission for air movement. So, well, actually that comes after, sorry. I have to move first, and then it'd be air mission. So before naval movement, let's just put these off to the side first. They're going to search there. 0, so they know what's coming now. And movement, we're going to, oh, this is interesting because I can't, well, I've got to go in now. Shoot, well, that's all there is to it. I have to go in. So I'm going to go in, move the naval units, and we're going to have our first amphibious assault. I will unload my Marines, who have 11 steps total. And then we'll take a look at a couple of amphibious assault rules and come back in a second. All right, I'm going to continue with what I had planned to do, and then I'm going to show you what probably should have happened before all the battle cycles took place, even before I decided on what I was going to use for operation, for activating units. So during this phase, the operation player, or the advantage player, I unloaded the Marines into this hex. Okay, that's going to be the movement phase. Now, one of the things you see here, since I have a 21-day operation, these activated ground units must have, in this case, the 3 underneath the unit, indicating that it will be able to have 3 battle cycle movements. So this debarking and amphibious assault is going to count as 1 battle cycle movement. And so they had 3 to start with because of the 21-day. They get 1 per 7-day increment. So now they're going to be down to 2 as they do this assault. This whole process is going to be a lesson in making mistakes and understanding some of the details of the rules concerning bases and ground combat, etc. because it colors the way you are going to get prepared for an operation. So you can learn from these mistakes. I've got the Marine unit on debarked. We're going to do an Amphibious Assault. As you can see by the order here, I can do, oops, open that up. I can do a, where should we get here? Let's try to get to the orange. I did the advantage movement. Now I can do the advantage air mission. And I don't know that it's gonna do a lot for me to do an air mission. The most I can do is a true quality check, and I don't think that's one thing I didn't check on. After a unit has failed and is broken, whether it's going to really matter to be, let's just quick double check. Oh, yeah, it's only going to affect it if a unit is broken already and it has a TQ check and it breaks again. If it's over one step, it will lose a step. But if it's only at one step, which all of the Japanese units, you can grab those. All the Japanese units are one step, including the base. So we pull those out. So I suppose for the sake of argument, maybe it's maybe it's a good idea, because, and I'm going to explain myself before I go through this process, but you definitely want to try to break the this Marine unit, because it has the highest TQ value, 7. And if you break it, the TQ is going to go down to 4, because in combat that's going to be cut in half, rounded up. Now the trick is, it can only, in bombardment, which I plan to do, I plan on attacking the Marine unit with the ships. It can only do, you can only check the TQ once during bombardment. In other words, if I roll and get a TQ check on this unit in bombardment with one ship, and I roll again and I get another one, and it only has to roll once. I can't force it to keep rolling every time I hit it. So if I do an air mission and try to get the TQ check, that at least gives me a chance to break it twice. And I think that's how it's going to work. So I will launch the air, which are over here, and it's going to be a ground attack. Coordination isn't going to be an issue because there are no planes here, but I do have to roll for the alert to make sure that so they are alerted. So this plane gets to take off. I don't think it's going to matter because he's going to have to land there anyway. And if it gets overrun, that plane disappears. Another little possible mistake as we tally those up. Okay, so the planes go in. They have 2 4-ground attacks. I should also note the last air mission I did in attacking here, there is one flak point right there on the base in the middle of that one, and I forgot to roll that. I rolled that there wasn't any effect. So they were discovered, so I have 1 flak attack. I get a 6, no effect. Now I have 2 rolls of 4 against the Marine unit. I get a 3 on one of them, which is a TQ check. So I have to roll a 7 or less, the Japanese player. They roll a 0, so they're fine. So no broken yet. All right, these go back. There's respective carriers. And now the next phase, grab this again. To keep moving the camera. Next phase is, since we don't have any naval units in the same hex, it's going to be bombardment. And I'll show you a ship that matters. Here's the North Carolina, and there's the bombardment factor, number 5. And I have 2 cruisers and 2 destroyers. So there's going to be 3 5 bombardments and 2 2. And as we found out earlier, that I just need to roll less than, or 5 or less for the battleship in each of the 2 cruisers. So the battleship will fire on the Marines. No effect. First cruiser. No effect. Oof. Second cruiser. I got a 3, which is a TQ check. And I got a 7, so it just passed. And then I will roll checks on the other ones, but not that it's going to matter. Okay. So the Marines are still intact, not broken. And the very next phase after bombardment will be ground combat. There's no demolition right now. Ground combat. Here's the fun one. It's good to go through all these steps. So, okay. Since they already have entered that hex to do an assault, so they've used up their 1 battle cycle. You don't have to do it again. They have 14 minus 3, that's 11 steps on the Marines. They have 3, the Japanese have 3 steps, pull back just a little bit. 3 steps, plus the base is considered 1 step. So unfortunately for the Americans, there's no die modification, because on the combat chart you can see you have to get to 3 to 1 to get a 1 subtracted from the die roll. So what next step is to look at troop quality, and since it's an amphibious assault and there are no allied units already in the hex, you have to have this troop quality, so that's going to be 4. The Japanese Marine unit was not modified, unfortunately, with all their attacks. So it's 4 to 7, and you just follow. This isn't going to be great. There's 4, and there's the 7 for the defender. So you roll on the 7 column. It's not a great column because, let's pull back some more. Here's the 7 column. So you have to roll a 0 to get a mandatory retreat. These are only optional retreats, and this is an attacker retreat, which will not be good. And there's no subtraction. So, oh, and then there's 11 steps here, 12, 13, 14, 15 steps counting the base. These mean the size of the total number of steps in the battle for both sides. Obviously, with the higher number, there's going to be more casualties. So, okay, so roll on the 7 column. And they get a 1, which is probably inconclusive. One hit on each. And that means this is gone because you have to take the first hit from the lead unit, and they use that lead unit. So the Marines are gone, which is a good thing because they the much bigger troop quality. So, and then 1 step from this Marine unit, so it's down to 10. So that's where we're at this point. Basically, they're locked in. They didn't have to retreat either on the attacker or the defender side. So it's not over yet, but one thing to look over carefully is the retreat procedure, and especially under the mandatory retreat. I'm not going to go over all that, but I would highly suggest to read that a few times. No, I'm obviously not going to retreat. Reaction player has the option to retreat, but that's not. I did not realize that. I have to deactivate this unit because in the optional retreat results, operation player has option to retreat. Chooses not to retreat, the reaction player has option to retreat. Well, they don't want to retreat because they'll lose the units. If the reaction player chooses not to retreat, both forces remain in the hex, and each force loses the number of steps, which they did already. Both forces then deactivate, forfeiting any available battle cycle movements. So I have to deactivate this Marine unit, and we'll see what happens after that. So that's the end of the battle. It's somewhat, this plane unit is still there because the base has not been overrun yet. One of the things that happened was getting rid of this Marine unit. That's a biggie, but I did not get a retreat result, which would have been obviously the best thing to happen. I'm going to show you the movement or the battle cycle for the Japanese player. Airfield repair, you don't need to do that. Rally, you don't need to do that. Disadvantage movement. So we're going to move again. This is not detected at the moment. I don't have any planes within range. So we'll move 1. Sub-patrol will search. They get a 6. They fail. And now I'm going to move 1 here because it is now out of sub-range. It's going to be coming into 1 soon. So that is undetected. Otherwise, it's kind of quiet. Here's the thing I was referring to a minute ago, and something I missed. Again, when you're doing battle scenarios, you only think of this phase as deactivation phase. But in fact, in campaign and then strategic scenarios, it becomes joint activation and deactivation. I know it says it the same for both, but there's really no, all of your ships and planes, etc., are activated together on a battle scenario. So you don't have to worry about activation in this phase. But in campaign scenarios, you do have to think about this. And I actually have, if I bring it over here, after spending the points, you can see here, I actually have 8 points left on each side. So, well, here's what could happen. The Japanese player, if they choose to activate any units, and they've got some ships here. Actually have an engineer here, but that engineering phase doesn't happen to it. And that's one thing I didn't think about. I should have, when I said, oh, we don't need to do any engineering the first phase of that, but I should have been building a airfield here, or air base, because there is an engineer unit, so messed it up. I might let the Japanese player start one, pretend I just forgot it. But there are ships here. There's also some planes available. I don't think there's a need for the Japanese to, we're not going to add any ships here. They're going to be out of range to have any effect. But all you have to do, if you're the Japanese player, in this case, you're the reaction player, you can just pay points straight up. If I have a ship here that's 2 activation points, I can pay the 2 points and it's activated for the rest of this battle cycle. And they don't have to pay anything else, it's just for that. There's no doubling or tripling. Now, the allied player, operational player, if I wanted to, I could pay, and I actually might think about this. I have to figure out how far I can get, but I have this engineer unit, which I should have, I don't think I could have initially done this because of the headquarter cost, but there's an engineer unit that's at 2 activation points. And here's the problem. If I end up during this battle cycle capturing this hex, that base disappears, the Japanese base disappears, and I have to build a US base. But I need an engineer unit to do that. So I would have to have an engineer unit in place during the engineering phase to start the build. And the allied player definitely has an advantage. It takes less points and less time to build a base for the allied player than it does Japanese. So that was a mistake. And I'll have to check to see if I could activate and move. I will do that first before anything else, because the Japanese are done with their movement phase. Okay, neither side is going to activate any units. I thought about sacrificing a ship to transport the engineer to here, because it would not make it back to a port in time to deactivate. Can't deactivate here in this hex. And I gotta change I lost one of my lights, so apologies for the poor lighting. So this one goes off. Yeah, no activation, no deactivation. Well, I'm going to get this video a little bit shorter than what I think it might be if I went into too much detail at the end of this operation. When I'm gonna show you what happened, because I'd made a major error in the original video that I was getting through. I thought that I could activate this again, but in looking at the rules of activation, and this actually is important for the rest of the month, but you can only activate a unit once per month. Once it's been activated, and then it deactivates at the end of an operation, you cannot activate it in the rest of that calendar month. So this was deactivated. I wanted to be sneaky and activate it again and then attack those poor engineer units who would most likely had to retreat. So this is stuck in battle. And I again, I'm not going to go through all the steps, but just to summarize what happened after I decided I couldn't attack there again, and I wasn't going to do something unrealistic and activate the engineer unit with a ship and then go in and try to unload the engineer so it could be there. So what essentially happened at the end of this operation is this Japanese task force was detected by sub-patrol. I got one more hit on the light carrier, which is where is he? Why do I not find him now? Oh, the Ryujo, sorry. So it was crippled. It could not get back to the base in time. And so for the end of the Japanese part of the operation, the reaction part, and they only had 14 days. Otherwise, they would have had to pay activation points for all of their units if they were not deactivated by the end of that 14 period. But since this was crippled, the Ryujo had to be left behind. So this task force made it back by the 14-day period for the reaction player. I had to pay an extra 2 points for activation for the Ryujo in this task force, and it limped along and made it back because it has 7 days to do that. But it didn't get any more hits by the sub-patrols, so ended up deactivating in Rabaul with all the other naval units, but it is crippled. So that's going to have an effect on the next cycle. I had one more air attack that I did with the carriers before I left for home, and eliminated this unit, the long-range air, the Japanese. So to sum it up, at the end of this operation, I am on, it ended up being, I think, it was on the day 20 that it finally ended. And so, and that is basically the 20th of August. It's considered August 20th now. Operation was ended. Everybody that was activated is deactivated now. The Japanese player has 6 points left, and the Allied player has 8 points, command points, that is. And this is kind of what's cool. It's not a good situation for the Allied player, but it's kind of cool about this game is that these units are basically locked together right now on Guadalcanal, and we'll have to deal with that in the next operation. They can be here if they're deactivated. They're just kind of holding their positions, but the base is still Japanese. So that was a learning experience going through that first operation, and I think the Allied player obviously could have played that a lot better. I didn't need as many ships to do this operation. I should have brought the engineer unit with the APD naval unit. It wasn't interesting, even though it was surprise. The basic thing that happened because of the surprise, the Japanese player was not able to get very far. So really the Japanese player left and ended up not really being any kind of influence in this battle at Guadalcanal. So there was never any carrier battles. Ships did not meet. So not a big conclusive operation, but it was helpful to see all the steps leading up to it. And really you have to kind of go through and learn by doing, and then the next time you set it up, you can start to see, okay, I'm going to need to do this and this and this. You'll be much better prepared for all the steps of decision making. But I think I'll end there and then do probably one more video. I'm not going to get through all the battle cycles. I won't do that. But I'll do one more video just showing some of the things that would come into play in a campaign scenario for some of the steps in the cycle that I kind of skipped over because I wasn't doing a whole lot. But I think there's going to be more important things that I'll have to do on both sides. One of the things that we'll cover is the sub-patrols and how those are dealt with. Those are in place right now, but there's some changes that can be made when you come around to the sub-phase on the next go-around. I think I'm going to allow the Japanese player to cheat and go backwards here and have the engineer start a build of the air base there. So I'll change that, but otherwise everything should be settled as is, and we'll see you back on the next round, the end of August, and then show you how the calendar month changes during an operation, if there is an operation. All right, see you next time. Thanks.